Good morning. This is Professor Joy, your JoyScore podcast host, and my brand ambassador, Steffi.
Hello.
Hello. And so it would be her and I today. And we actually are going to be dealing with the topic of child development and how does it progress from the time of birth. So I'm going to actually be asking AI and the ChatGPT to answer the question, and let's see what it does. Says low battery,
Oh, Christ. That's okay. That's all right.
but it's not.
You have to kill that first and then push away.
What age from the childbirth does it take for a mind to be developed into the normal age?
What, as far as an adult?
No,
What do you
like
mean normal age?
from what I was being told, it's between 5 and 7 years. First 5 to 7 years of
For them to grow their personality.
Yeah, yeah.
And I say it comes out of the box.
Yeah?
The personality is, the brain is not empty when it arrives.
I don't think it is, but I do think a lot of influences along the way will impact.
That's
So-
what everybody thinks.
Yeah?
Yeah. We love
what
that.
age does it take for a child's mind to develop?
You have to hold it down.
What age is a child's mind is developed?
Music disappeared.
What age does it take for a child's mind to develop?
It's good when it says that.
Huh?
It's good when it says stop answering because
I am sorry, but I couldn't find enough information to determine what David Woodell would have done in a specific context or situation. It is important to note that without more specific information about David Woodell and the given scenario, it is not possible to provide an accurate answer. If you have any additional details or context, I would be happy to try and help further. Full stop.
David.
I win. That's me. That's me. No answer.
Okay.
Well, how about asking it if you have nature and nurture on the table, which one has more impact on the human? It's going to say 50-50.
So it doesn't stay pushed.
What's that?
It doesn't work.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If you had nature and nurture, which one takes how long for a child mental development to take place to start with.
The duration of a child's mind or mental development is a complex and ongoing process that begins at birth and continues into adulthood. The most significant period of brain development occurs between birth and age 5, where the brain develops more than any other time in life. During this time, the foundation for future learning, health, and life success is laid. Full stop. While the brain continues to develop and change throughout adulthood, the early years, particularly ages 2-7, are considered crucial for establishing a strong foundation for cognitive, emotional, and social development. This period provides a prime opportunity to shape a child's brain architecture and optimize their learning potential. It is important to note that every child develops at their own pace, and the duration of mental development can vary among individuals. Various factors, such as genetics, environment, stimulation, and experiences, can influence the trajectory and speed of a child's mental development. If you have specific concerns or questions about a child's mental development, it is advisable to consult with healthcare professionals, such as pediatricians or child development specialists, who can provide personalized guidance based on their expertise and knowledge of the child, as individual circumstances.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on everything?
Still gonna say something.
I agree with that
Yeah.
Of course
because
you do. Cheater.
my own opinion was from birth to 7 years, but it kind of answered it in two stages: birth to 5 years and then 2 to 7 years, which covers 2 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Now, it did not talk about any influence of parental
Yeah. Development.
existence or non-existence, meaning if it has a influence. In my opinion, nurturing, parenting, and other environmental factors all are part of influence on that development. So, the focus, at least from the time that JoyScore developed the app, has been people be part of the JoyScore concept of educational foundation from the time people start dating each other to mating each other or being involved in serious relationship to marriage and then childbirth. And so it goes back to doctrine, the way that people be before they have a reasonable score of 50 and not be more ahead than the head of 60, and then not have child till they have of 70. And this is based on what that fifth one of the children in the world are unwanted. Having engaged in a life to give birth to a child should have a sense of responsibility and feel grounded enough and mature enough to have a child. It should not be a matter of just happening or an accident, because that's a little bit questionable. So, based on our discussion in JoyScore team of psychiatrists, pediatrician, and other professionals, we feel that giving birth to a child is a very important responsibility in life. It should not be taken casually, and it should not happen just by accident or chance.
So, one thing I notice about children is they are always happy, and then adults aren't just always happy. So, I think even like the most like joyful person can sometimes get a little bit stressed out, maybe. So, how big of an like how easy is it to mess up a child if the parent is getting frustrated? Like, how quickly would the child's mentality change?
That's a very good question, because parents, adults, need to understand that tolerance is important element of being around children. So, like you said, they by nature inherently are happy and joyful. So parents should not be in their way of being happy and joyful, and definitely not introduce their own frustration to the child. So, and this again goes back to how ready they are, because generally, if they're ready for the child, they would welcome even the frustration.
Yeah.
Nothing would bother them. I remember when my son was born, so he wanted to sleep in our bed, not in his crib.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'll let him sleep in our bed. But then he would want to sleep across.
Yeah.
And sometimes his toe was in my nose.
Yeah.
And the funny part was that before he was born, I did not care for children.
Yeah.
I could not stand them.
Yeah.
I had no tolerance. But when he was born, I became very tolerant.
Yeah.
Nothing bothered me.
Yeah.
I mean, if his toe was my nose, it was okay. So the point is that if you are accepting and tolerant, that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Because you definitely do not want, whether you're frustrated or not, or accepting or not, to be transferring that negative energy to the child.
Yeah. And then you're a professor, so what are your thoughts on like a child? Like, because some children, their parents have to go to work and stuff. So a very young child going to school and spending 8 hours a day with like almost a complete stranger, and that stranger having that huge influence in their life that is bigger than their parents because they're spending more time at school than with their parents.
Well, the concept of them going to school or staying home with the parents.
Yeah.
The school has a peer learning,
Yeah.
meaning now they are interacting with other children.
Yeah.
Actually, again, from what I have learned, that's known to be healthier for a child's development, to be
Okay.
interacting with other children
Yeah.
than being only interacting with the parents. So there comes a time, so again, anywhere between 4 to 7 years of age, let's say, they can start going to any kind of preschool
Yeah.
or daycare where they have the opportunity to interact with other children is better,
Yeah.
because then they're not limited to the experience that they have only with the parents.
Yeah.
They do have that parental experience no matter what,
Yeah.
but then they also in addition have this interaction with other children of their similar age and so on. So it's known to be actually better and healthier for them to be experiencing that.
Yeah, because I was thinking in my car just this morning that young children, they love to learn things. Like I have the child that I raise, I have him, he can spell his name just because he loves to learn, and I just take the opportunity to teach him things. So where like children at one point in their lives, they stop loving learning, like school becomes like a kind of a drag and everything. So where do you think that kind of change comes in when they dislike learning?
So, you know, a child's mind is very similar to like we as adults make decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, we are known as adults even to make most of our decisions based on pain
Yeah.
and pleasure.
Yeah.
So, so anything which is given to us as an option, we say, okay, is it going to be painful or is it going to be pleasurable?
Yeah.
So we tend to gravitate toward things which are pleasurable.
Yeah.
Children are the same way. So when do they find learning to be a drag or not of their interest
Yeah.
is when they find learning to be not interesting.
Okay.
So meaning now more and more, in fact, it's so interesting you asked that question. When I started teaching, I first thought what is important for me to know what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
But then I learned that it's not enough to know what you're teaching,
Yeah.
but it's more important to know how to deliver that information
Yeah.
so that it is interactive. So the difference between teaching or lecturing versus presenting information which is more interactive. I mean, sometimes, it's so funny that I learned to be, in a way, part comedian. I would
Yeah.
tell jokes to my students to wake him up or
Yeah.
to get connected, because sometimes I walk in and I see the class is kind of distracted, not with me. And in order to bring him in, I have to pull out my toolbox and see what trick I'm going to use.
Yeah.
Sometimes telling him a joke worked, or,
Yeah.
or asking them a question worked, or let them be interacting with me worked. So what I'm saying is that even in adults, because my students generally would be 16, 17, 18-year-olds to start at the university. Even to them, if I was not interesting, I lose them.
Yeah.
And you learn by being a professor, by looking at your class, you can pretty much judge if what you are delivering is being accepted or not. Because you can tell the expression on their face. If it's a blank expression, there's something wrong, because one time I happened to make a mistake of mixing up my class schedule.
Oh.
here I walk in, and I think I'm teaching a different class than I was really supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I start talking about it, and I realize that my class is blank. You know, they have a expression like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Wait a second. What class am I in?" I think I must have mixed it up or made a mistake. And
Yeah.
people, it happens, you know. You're teaching several classes. You
Yeah.
walk in thinking it's that class, but it's really not, you know. So then I realized that by looking at the class, you can tell if the class is understanding, accepting, having fun, or bored, or I mean, you can just pretty much tell what's happening. So the same thing applies to children,
Yeah.
you know?
So you're saying that being in a joyful state will help you absorb, like help you learn more, I guess.
Yeah. So here is, you know, I obviously I have to give credit to Betty Edwards' book that I became familiar with, called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, which her research was on joyful connectivity with the right brain. So now in her research, she found out that in order to activate your right brain, you have to be joyful.
Yeah.
And that's why I started insisting to my classes that they have to be smiling, because then I could tell if they're joyful or not.
Yeah.
So then more I researched and tried to understand, I realized being joyful is like the secret sauce for everything in life.
Yeah.
You cannot succeed in life without being joyful.
Yeah.
In fact, it kind of became like the formula. Only one thing people need to learn to succeed and have better mind, better health, and be successful is to be joyful.
Yeah.
So if you can learn just one thing to do and teach children to do, which is to be joyful,
Yeah.
have fun,
Yeah.
that's it. Then they have everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's easy for me to profess on something that is part of my app, which is called JoyScore.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that,
So before you read Betty Edwards' book, you had success like prior to that.
right,
Did it kind of something click and you thought like that you had been a joyful person and that's why?
yeah. So I looked back and thought about it.
Yeah.
And I did realize that by nature,
Yeah.
I'm just a happy being, you know.
Yeah.
I just have a childlike personality.
Yeah.
And, you know, my students liked me because I was even though older than them,
Yeah.
but I could mingle with them.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't feel that I was like an old professor, boring
Grumpy.
person.
Yeah.
I had fun with them.
Yeah.
And my thinking in life was, if you're going to do something, might as well do it by having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of dragging your feet? So, to the point that, to me, the more I look back and realize that when I did what I did, whether work or do projects in architecture or taught and so on, I just enjoyed it all.
Yeah.
And so that became my way of doing things, being joyful.
Yeah.
And that I would claim to be the secret sauce in my life, which has made me so successful.
Yeah. Amazing.
So let's see, I want to keep track of time a little bit. So we're kind of approaching the time end of our show, so we have a couple more minutes left in case you want to ask another question.
So like, if you're just like, what would you recommend doing right now to lift your joy? Like, what is the one thing? You have to pick one thing out of everything that like is in the app and everything you talk about. What is one thing that could take you to the next level? and
In
be
the
joyful
app or
right
in
now?
general?
In your opinion, what could somebody just do right now to elevate their joy?
So, always look for things which either inspire you or make you feel worthy of positive contribution. So, sometimes you cannot use just the same technique for every situation. So depending on where you are and what opportunities you have, sometimes you have an opportunity to help somebody, do an act of kindness, or think of something which helps you feel good about yourself and others. So first in mind, once you learn how to be joyful, you just find a way to be joyful.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you're going to live a life, why not live a life of joy?
Yeah.
And not you have a choice.
Yeah.
You have a choice to be sad or joyful.
You've given me a lot to think about, especially with the children, because it really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if there's cake all over the floor,
Right.
and it doesn't. You've actually given me a lot to think about in that regard.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like even I have like I was telling you that before I had my own son, I didn't care for children.
Yeah.
But then I learned that nothing could bother me anymore.
Yeah.
So whatever it was, I just learned to have fun with it.
Yeah. On the big scale, it really doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And you're the adult,
Yeah.
You have the responsibility of managing,
Yeah.
if you are stressed, managing that stress
Yeah.
and turning into joyful situations.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. I think that brings us to the close of our episode today.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again next week.
Yes.
Please join us. Thank you.